Hello, my name's Tom Walker. Welcome to That'll Be the Day. In this podcast, I'm going to be talking to a PhD student from the University of California, Berkeley, about his research into the development of a robotic guide dog. I'm also going to ask a visually impaired woman who has trained her own guide dogs for her expert reaction to the project. But before we hear from them, if you like the music at the start of this podcast, it's a track called That'll Be the Day by the Liverpool band The Vow. And as always, I'll be featuring a track by the band at the end of this podcast. To find out which one it is, stay tuned. Just in case you're wondering what that sound is, it's the noise of the four paws of the robot guide dog padding across the floor of one of the laboratories at the University of California. Now, many of the guide dog users I know don't just love their guide dogs because they get them around the place safely. They also enjoy the companionship the dogs provide. But how would those guide dog users feel if instead of a dog at the other end of the lead, they had a robot? Well, Zhongyu Li from the University of California, Berkeley, is looking into the possibility of replacing our canine friends with a robotic alternative. And hopefully Zhongyu is on the other end of this Zoom call now. How are you doing?
Good. Thank you, Tom. Thank you for the invite.
No problem. Tell me about your research. What is it you've been looking into?
So currently I'm a PhD student at UC Berkeley. So I'm doing kind of mechanical engineering and robotics, basically the robotic stuff. So in our research recently, we kind of developed kind of a robotic guide dog that we use kind of a robot, quadruped robot, which has 4 legs, to kind of to lead a blindfolded person to navigate kind of in a kind of a clustered environment.
How did you come up with the idea?
Oh, I think this is actually motivated from kind of the animal kind of a robot guide dog. Animal dog guide dog. It's basically because we feel like for the visually impaired person like who need a kind of animal dog, the skill that trained on animal dog cannot be easily transferred to another kind of animal dog. So if another kind of visually impaired person needs a dog, so we need to retrain a new dog. So this kind of takes time and very just time consuming and labor intensive to train an animal dog. But if we use a robot dog, the algorithm that we developed on a robot dog to guide a visually impaired person can be easily transferred to another kind of robot. In this way, we can mass produce such kind of a robot guide dog in order to serve more the people who needs a guide dog.
What trials are you currently doing then? Are you using blind and partially sighted people?
Currently, we use all the subjects in the experiments are the blindfolded person. So basically, we wear a mask to pretend to be we can barely see anything in the experiments.
Are you going to use blind and partially sighted people as part of your experiments?
Oh, I wish we can. I wish we could. We wish we could. I think this is a part of our future plan because this is kind of a proof of concept, work. So basically, we all, just using some students, to pretend and to have to be a kind of to mask, to put a mask on our eyes. But I think we have some follow-up works, and in the future, we want to use kind of a real kind of visually impaired person to give us to try these systems and give us some feedbacks about how they're feeling to improve our kind of the algorithms. So I think definitely we want to we want to kind of invite some volunteers that can help us to improve to use our systems.
Am I right in thinking then that you haven't actually consulted blind and partially sighted people so far?
Currently, no. Yeah, currently, no. But we wish to, because this is kind of a proof of concept work. So we wish we can to chat with the community and to also to improve our to do some iteration to improve our algorithm.
Do you have any evidence that visually impaired people actually want a robotic guide dog?
I'm not sure, but I think there is a good kind of a response in the community. Not in the US, but in the UK and China. So there's someone actually already read our paper and our work, and give me some kind of feedback that some of his kind of visually impaired friend want to use kind of such kind of a system because he's in China, and he said in China it's very kind of it's very uneasy to get an animal robot dog. So basically they want to use kind of a robot system to guide him, to guide his kind of a visually impaired person. So it's very already someone trying to do so to kind of to help their kind of a visually impaired friend. So I think this is kind of a good feedback from the community. So I think actually when we have more advanced technology, we have test our entire algorithms. So I think this will be a boon to them.
What have your initial findings been? Have you found that the robot guide dog has been able to help you to avoid obstacles?
So in our experiments, which actually showed that not only will our robot can help the human or a visually impaired person to avoid the obstacle, but also to travel through a very narrow space. So this is because we use a leash, just as we use as a dog. So basically we have a leash, and the leash can go slack and taut. So when the robot leading a human into travel into a narrow space, and usually the entire system will get stuck in that kind of a narrow space, like a doorway or narrow kind of a corridor. So in this case, our algorithm is able to let the robot to firstly let the leash go slack, and at that times there is no force sensed so for the human being led, there's no force on the leash, so the human will stop. So intuitively will stop, and then robot will reposition and reorient by itself, and then find a very correct configuration or pose to pass this kind of narrow space, and then the robot will let the leash go taut again. At that times, the human will sense the force in the leash, okay, and then he will be notified that we need to move along with the robot. Then the human will move will follow the robot again. In this way, the entire system will pass through this kind of a narrow space.
What about obstacles and hazards at head height? Does the robot guide dog detect them and enable the user to avoid them?
Yeah, I think our algorithm is able to detect the obstacles, but basically it's kind of static obstacles in our current algorithms. We don't have. I think the future work will be a dynamic obstacle, which we mean that the obstacles can move around in the indoor environment, such as another human moving around with the system, with the robot around the robot, and the robot should also be able to kind of inform the human being led to avoid that moving obstacles. I think this could be solved very easily based on our kind of current pipeline.
What are the next steps in your research? What are you planning to do next?
I think we want to push forward this kind of this project. I think lots of people give us a very positive response, like about the willing to try out this kind of a robotic guide dog. So I think the next step will be first will be let the robot to operate the elevator, and in these ways we can let the robotic guide dog to help the visually impaired person to help to manipulate to operate the elevators, and then to travel inside a building. And then the future work will be letting the robot dog to let the human to lead the human to travel in outdoor environment, such as cross the road and by detecting the traffic lines, and also moving in the crowd environments, like some on the street. I think this is some very exciting the future path. And also I think this is the good place to say that we, like in the future, we want to have some experiments which involves actual blind visually impaired person. So we want to recruit some volunteer, like if they are interested to join our project, to give on some feedbacks, and to iterate our to make our algorithm better, and to serve the people, to better serve the people.
I think visually impaired people will be reassured by that. One of the criticisms that people make sometimes of research like this is that these initiatives can seem really great to a sighted person, but in reality don't work. How are you going to make sure that, you know, if your robot dog is approved and successful, that it really
it's very hard, you know, it's sometimes very hard, you know, as you may know that, you know, some work like built in the lab, in the research lab, you know, it's, you know, as you mentioned, yeah, it usually won't work in the very complex environment, but, you know, and that entire kind of a pipeline is actually there. So the reason that it usually fail is because that, you know, first of all, we lack of the laborers, you know, we lack of the people to actually improve their, you know, their all kind of some details of the, you know, of our algorithms. And, you know, there's lots of details and lots of kind of outliers, like when we actually deploy it in the real life, in the daily life. So I think, but I think this kind of idea, this kind of project, I think will give us some kind of show us some paths that so how to use a kind of a robot, like especially for leg robots, because, you know, for coach by robot is more like a dog. You know, it's, you know, our human community may prefer to use such kind of dog to serve to have the, you know, the serving kind of have a guide dog. So I think this kind of proof of concept work will actually inspire people to think about, to inspire actually more people or even the company to think about how to actually build a robust a system, a reliable system that can work on daily life. I think what we need in the, you know, to make it actually work in our daily life is that we just need to refine our work by more people, by more effort, and by in this way we, you know, we need more money, and you know, we need more attraction. We need kind of a support to push this kind of a project.
If blind people tell you that the robot guide dog doesn't work, will you abandon the project, or do you think you'll just try and carry on and force it through?
I think I will first ask him why and what's the reason, and if this basically is not working, or, you know, what's the disadvantage of this kind of a robot. I think definitely compared to animal dog, there is a, you know, there's a huge gap between robot dog and animal dog for now. But I think the potential in the future of the robot dog is kind of, I think it's promising, because, you know, the robot dog is able to, you know, where is has a sense of navigation. We just need to tell the robot, we can add a speech interface easily. We can just tell the robot where we want to go, and the robot will just help us to find the path, collision-free path, and, you know, guide the human to, you know, to avoid obstacles along the path and travel to the goal location. And, you know, this is usually kind of not that easy for an animal dog, because, you know, the animal dog doesn't have the intelligence to, you know, have a sense of navigation, like especially by giving the kind of a clear commands of the navigation goal, like office, outdoor, like point A to point B. I think, you know, this is the advantage of the real robot dog. And, you know, so, and also, and I think, you know, we need to, you know, compare the disadvantage and the advantages of using robot dog by, you know, by actually chatting with the, you know, the blind community. So in this way, we can know that which direction is actually we want to, you know, push forward.
There we go. That's you. Forward. Kizzy, down. Good girl. This is my guide dog, Kizzy. She is 5 years old. She's qualified as an assistance dog with Dog Age UK and also as a seeing dog with the Seeing Dogs Alliance. She's lived with me since she was 8 weeks old, and I've trained her to do her work myself.
That's the voice of Donna Waring, who's an experienced guide dog owner and has actually trained her own guide dogs. And bang on cue, another dog starts barking. I'll be interested to know what Donna thinks of the robot guide dog and whether she thinks as a concept it can work.
my initial thoughts were that I would be very interested to try out a prototype when they get to that stage, just to see how the thing would actually work. Would it be like, for example, Google Maps, whereby it would give you instructions and say turn left in 10 meters, 20 meters, etc., or could you in fact, for those with limited mobility, program in a route and the dog would actually just do it and take you to the destination?
Well, we've certainly got a dog barking. I'm hoping somebody's going to take that to a destination.
It's not mine.
No, it's not your dog. Your dog is very well behaved. What do you think the positives would be? What would the pros be for a robot dog?
Obviously, there is no poop to clean up, no stick to clean up. So in terms of looking after the thing, the robotic dog, there would be no clean-up that you'd need to do. Just simply remember that it would need charging up every now and again.
And the thing is, as well, it could tackle the shortage of guide dogs as well, because once you've got the technology sorted, you can copy and paste it to any number of robots, I guess.
Well, I would have thought so. I mean, it's just a matter of how advanced this thing is going to be. How good is its obstacle detection going to be? Will it detect obstacles above you as well? Could you put in the height of a person, and so it would know not to bring you underneath anything that was at head height? How good is its obstacle detection going to be? There are all sorts of factors to consider. It's a very interesting project, I think.
What do you think the disadvantages would be?
Well, obviously with a dog, you build up a bond. So with Kizzy, I base a lot of the work I do with her on play. I make sure that she gets lots of time to play, and in playing with her, obviously I bond with her, and so you have that emotional tie. Now obviously you're not going to have that with a robotic dog. Another disadvantage might be, for example, I've been in the park before and seen people with electric wheelchairs and they've been stuck because the batteries have run out. So I would say you might need to have some kind of skills to be able to get home if you did accidentally run out of battery power, unless of course it came with a spare battery pack that you could just plug in. That one's done, so I need to plug in another. So I think those are some of the disadvantages of this kind of system.
Now you've trained your own guide dogs yourself.
Yes.
What makes a good guide dog from your point of view?
I think you want a dog that's going to be calm in most situations. Social behaviour is really important. It's really important to get that sorted as soon as you can. From when a dog's a puppy, to show it the world, even if that means sitting for half an hour or 20 minutes at the train station or outside of Morrison's to get the dog used to people coming and going. That dog there now that's barking, clearly it's uncomfortable being here, whereas Kizzy here is just stretched out onto the bench and is quite happily relaxing. That's what you want to see in a dog. We also want a dog, if you're someone like me that goes to football matches and you go to the Odd Folk Festival and concerts and things like that, you want a dog that does also have some initiative. That's when you don't know quite what the right decision is, the dog will make a decision, even if it's the wrong one. Just to make a decision is a good thing, rather than just to stand there and wait for help or whatever. You want a forward-thinking dog.
How long did it take you to train your guide dogs?
Well, you're looking at, really, from start to finish, approximately 18 months to 2 years. And for anybody that thinks, well, I've been on the waiting list at guide dogs for this long, I'm getting hacked off with it now, I want to train my own dog. Believe you me, it is very, very hard work, particularly the early bits when the dog is a pup. I mean, you're literally, for the first few weeks you get the dog home, you are setting an alarm clock to get the dog out every hour and a half, so that you can reward it for going to the toilet in the correct place, and so on. You're having to walk the dog with your long cane to teach it what goes on in the world, to get its curb approaches nice. And then, of course, there's the expense of taking the dog to puppy classes and things like that. I did the Kennel Club Good Citizens Award with mine, so I did bronze bronze level, silver and gold, because I was told that that would be a very good basis for the dog to learn a lot of initial skills before it went on to guide. So it really is a lot of work. It takes a lot of work, takes a lot of dedication, and you've got to be prepared for a dog to fail as well. I've had one that didn't make it, and it wasn't because he was a bad guide or anything. It's just that he became very overprotective of me, and I couldn't have that if he was going to be around children or anything like that. It just that just doesn't go. So unfortunately, I had to wash that dog, even though he had great potential. You can't have a dog that's reactive.
Would you have a robotic guide dog yourself if they could overcome some of the disadvantages and obstacles you've mentioned?
I would probably hedge my bets, and I would probably have a normal guide dog and a robotic one alongside, at least to start with. I love working a dog, but there are times when having a dog isn't always suitable. For example, if you want to navigate a busy room and you want to go and say hi to a lot of people, really you're better off leaving your dog at home in that sort of circumstance and going with a cane. So maybe a robotic guide dog might be more suitable in that kind of circumstance, depending on the size of it. There are times. I've never been one of these people that's believed that you've got to take your dog absolutely everywhere with you, and I believe it's a good idea to keep up your cane skills as well, so that, for example, when you take the dog for a run, you can use your cane to walk around the park area, provided you know the route. Your dog can run off and do its thing and have a nice time, because if you stay still, all the dog's going to do is go further and further and further away from you. So it's really important to keep those cane skills up, even if they're not quite as good as what they once were before you had a dog, so that if the dog was ill, you needed to go anywhere, whatever, you actually still could do it.
Donna, it's great to catch up. We've not seen each other for a year.
No, it's been a long time, hasn't it, Tom?
You haven't aged.
I'll believe you, thousands wouldn't.
I don't know what possessed me to say that, but I think Donna and I are still friends. So just remains for me to say thanks very much to Zhongyu Li and Donna Waring for taking part in the podcast. Now, some people might try to crowbar in a tenuous connection between the track I've chosen and the subject matter of the podcast. I, of course, wouldn't do that. The track I've chosen by The Vow is one called Ghost Writer, and I'm certain there won't be any ghosts in the Robodog machine.
Ghost writer, ghost writer, ghost writer. You're the silent haze. It's strange how your shadow strays, though you've gone to a better place. I pretend that I didn't see you, you know I do. Ghost writer, ghost writer, ghost writer. You're my secret fear, so beguiling and so sincere, with your warm whisperings in my ears. I pretend that I didn't hear you, you know I do. Ghost writer, ghost writer, ghost writer. I don't know if I can go all the way to the other side with you, but in the end, what is life anyway? Are we both shadows in the room? So erase my name with my worries and all my pain, but if morning should rise again, I'll deny that I ever loved you, you know I will. Ghost writer, ghostwriter, ghostwriter. I don't know if I can go all the way to the other side with you, but in the end, what is life? And anyway, we're all just shadows in the room. So erase my name with my memories stood on my shame. But if morning should rise again, I'll deny that I ever loved you. You know I will. Ghostwriter, ghostwriter, ghostwriter. Ghostwriter, ghostwriter, ghostwriter.